Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile, and this is the Meze Audio Alba, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank Meze Audio for providing the Alba for review. To greatly appreciate it. Meze Audio, you rock. Alright, so the Meze Audio Alba, these will set you back $160 from your bank account. They have a 10.8 millimeter dynamic driver, 32 ohms of impedance, 109 decibels of sensitivity, and a frequency response range of 15 hertz to 25 kilohertz. The Meze Audio Alba. Now, what does Alba mean? The Alba is a Romanian noun, and it means first light. The Alba comes in a fairly average type of box. It looks like this. Has a little bit of branding, and when you open it up, you get an area for your IEMs to sit, and then an area for a carrying case. And the carrying case looks like this. A little bit of branding here on the front. Nice hard shell, very small. And then when you open it up, you have a little pocket for some accessories and an area for the IEMs, which barely fit. Overall, it's a nice carrying case, nice and small, fits in all the pockets that I tried, and yeah, I like it. You also get a bag of small, medium, and large tips. They're all wide bore, all silicone, and I did use those tips. Also, you get a USB-C dongle. And I do not know the tech that is inside the dongle, but it sounds very good, and it works with the Alba just fine. I had no issues with this. The dongle has a more warm, neutral leaning type of signature. It is a little bit laid back in the treble and has some nice impactful bass, and the mids are nice and full. Overall, it's a good dongle with nice intimate type of soundstage, good depth, nice imaging. But it does seem to lack just a little bit in detail retrieval and resolution, and I wish I had a little bit more air and sparkle up top. But other than that, it's a very nice dongle, and it's a nice addition that Meze is including this. Meze also sent over an extra cable, which you can obtain through their website. And this is a 4.4 cable. It is built just like the stock cable, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Nice cable, same build and everything, just a different termination. All right, so the Meze Audio Alba. Very, very nice looking. You have this aluminum shell, very small. You have that horn turbine faceplate. A little bit of branding here on the back sides with the Meze insignia logo. Take the tip off here. And you can see that the nozzle is a little bit on the fat side. It does have a slight step up. Very, very flat. There's a little bit of an angle on the nozzle. It's kind of short. They have nice heft to them, but they're not super heavy. And I find that they feel premium. For $160, I was rather impressed at how nicely they look in the hand. Even better than they do in pictures, in my opinion. The cable connects with 2-pin, which is different from most other Meze connectors that they use. Usually they use MMCX, so it is nice to see them going with the 2-pin. This cable's not my favorite. I was somewhat disappointed in this cable. This is the same cable that came with the Advar. The ear hooks are pretty flimsy. They don't have enough tension. Very, very thin, and has a nice split with a cinch that stays in place. Overall, it's just a thin cable. It sounds good, but it's just a little bit on the flimsy side. Termination is nice. Keep in mind you can also get that alternate cable, which has a 4.4. I just wish that this cable felt a little more premium, like the shells. It just doesn't feel quite as nice as the shells do. And it's an okay cable. Wish I had a little bit better premium feel. The Meze Audio Alba is a very, very pretty looking IEM, and it's also extremely comfortable. When I first saw the design, I was like, oh man, this is like the Advar. This isn't going to be the most comfortable. That was a little bit heavy and didn't fit my ears very well. Thankfully, some small tweaks that Meze made to the design seems to have helped. They're not as heavy, and using a 2-pin cable instead of MMCX seems to have fixed the problem that I had with the Advar not fitting me right here going around to the ear hooks, and then also being lighter. They're not pulling out as much as the Advar was. And I find that these seal very well and that they are extremely comfortable. I can wear the Alba for hours, and I mean hours, 4 to 6 hours without any issues whatsoever. Isolation of outside noises is good. Also, probably about 66-70% of outside noises being blocked. You're only going to hear the really loud stuff, like somebody listening to a TV extremely loud, vacuum cleaners, coffee grinders, loud vehicles. Carrying on a conversation with somebody, you definitely have to pause the music. And if they're not talking very loud, you're going to have to pop one of the earpieces out in order to hear it. Let's give you a look as to the side. This is the way that the Advar, or excuse me, the Alba looks. Not the Advar, this is the Alba, Dave. So the Alba fits very well and is extremely comfortable for me. I did use the stock tip. The Meze Audio Alba, this is a somewhat easy to drive IEM. I found that the Alba is able to be driven by all dongles that I own, by all DAPs and desktop, but it responds to a little bit more. And so if you can give it a little bit more oomph, a little bit more gumption, it's going to reward you with a better sound. I found that it responded very well to higher quality power full units. And at 32 ohms, 109 decibels of sensitivity, pretty much anything will drive it. But if you give it some more juice, it's going to reward you with a more pleasurable experience. So how does the Meze Audio Alba sound? The Meze Audio Alba has a very pleasurable, engaging, neutralish leaning sound presentation. The bass is I want to say very engaging and fun. It has a nice sub bass presence to it. You get some real nice rumble and grumble, some in the bass. It's very engaging. And then the mid bass has a lot of authority, a lot of power, good impact, good slam. And the upper bass also has some presence without bleeding into the lower mids region. I find overall that the bass has a very engaging, authoritative, powerful, heavy hitting type of bass that is fun, but also accurate. It has nice details and it's very good resolving. And I found that the bass will really get the toes tapping and the arms flailing if you're an air drummer. And overall, it just has a accurate presentation that just really will go, wow, this is a good bass without being in bass head mode or in very neutral mode. This is a very natural sounding bass. I was rather impressed at how engaging it was and how fun. I really enjoyed the bass of the Alba. And then the mids. The mids have a nice fullness to them. They have a nice, very organic type of presentation. And they are slightly forward. They have just a little bit more of an emphasis to it. But at the same time, it's not overpowering and causing other things to be overshadowed. It is very much present and focused and very organic and full sounding, but at the same time, it still allows everything else around it to play cohesively and balanced. The mids are very well controlled and they have just enough of sparkle and energy and bite and crispness to them without being fatiguing. And they have just enough of a presence that kind of puts this focus on them, and you get your little personal performance without them being the sole focus. You're like, okay, here's the instrumentalists, and here's the vocalists, and you also have the percussionists, and you also have, you know, your background singers, and you have all these other things going on, but yet you can focus on the mids themselves if you want, or you can involve everything. It's a really nice sounding mid presentation with an accurate, balanced, and cohesive presentation. And then you get into the treble, and the treble extends nicely. There's good air, there's nice crispness, there's good bite, nice edge, but yet at the same time, it doesn't go into fatigue mode, and it is slightly more soothing. It has a little bit of a less bitey approach than others in this price point, and yet at the same time, you get all the information that you want from the treble without it being fatiguing and aggressive and too sparkly and energetic. I found that the treble has a nice natural presentation when it comes to just doing what treble does. It has a nice sparkly moments, and yet at the same time, it's not searing you. And as I was thinking about it, you know, the Alba means first light. And I was sitting in my room on a trip, and I had the Alba with me, and sunrise started to come up, and it gleamed into the room I was staying at, and it was beautiful. It had this presence about it that caught my eye and was just enough, you know, sparkle, enough glimmer, enough energy, but yet it wasn't like glaring at me and you know, blinding me. And I was sitting there thinking, that's the way the Alba's treble is. You get all of the energy, you get all the sparkle, you get all of the shimmerness and the beauty without being force fed and being forthright and being too intense and too aggressive. It's like the perfect sunrise for the treble. Soundstage of the Alba is not going to wow you with its vast width, but it is going to amaze you at how accurate it is. It does a really good job of presenting different sizes of venues, small, medium, large, and you get that grand size, but yet it doesn't go into that artificial fakeness of spreading things way out. It sounds like it's effortlessly reproducing every different little size. It's an incredible way that it presents venue sizes. And then the other thing about the soundstage is how deep it goes. It goes really deep. You can really look into the stage, and you can read row behind row behind row, and instruments have nice imaging around them and nice feel. Like when a bass drum hits, you hear the bass drum, but you also feel the bass drum. It like has this envelopment of sound in the depth. The depth is incredible. The layering is crazy. How well it's controlled, but yet how much information it gives. And then on top of that, the imaging is excellent. You get nice placement. Things move across the stage. You can go, it's there, it's there, it's there, it's there. And it just smoothly and effortlessly moves across the stage. You can tell if it's on the right side, if it's on the left side, if it's in the middle, if it's moving, if they're behind and in front of each other. Nothing is fighting for attention, but yet everything wants your attention. It's all focused, defined, and refined. It does a really nice job of presenting the stage. It's very Meze like. And then detail retrieval and resolution. The details that the Alba pulls are really, really good considering the price point. I was rather surprised at how much details you get. You're not going to miss anything, and you're definitely not going to be disappointed in what you don't hear, because you're going to hear it. It has all the details, and then what it resolves is really good for the price. There's not any moments of smeariness, glariness, and glassiness, anything of the sort. It's a very well refined and defined type of resolution. Up top in the treble, a little bit, it's a little too soothing, a little too smooth at times. It can be a little soft, so it doesn't press things and push things forward as much. I wish I had just a little bit more bite at times. But other than that, it's a really good resolution. And then tone and timbre. The tone and timbre of the Alba is very natural, very accurate. You have this nice fullness. You have good note weight, nice impact and slam. And then the tone is really natural. Everything sounds accurate. Instruments are reproduced the way that they sound in life, and vocalists also have this lifeness like them. They reproduce, and then timbre is also very well done. I'm rather impressed by the tone and the timbre of the Alba. Meze Audio Alba. Yeah. Pretty good little device, but how does it compare to a few of the other IEMs that are in its price point? Well, first, let's start with the Moondrop Kato. Now, the Moondrop Kato is a little bit more expensive, and the Moondrop Kato has a little bit more of a neutral analytical lean. It does not quite have that little bit of fun factor that the Alba has. The Alba definitely has more bass impact than the Kato. The Kato doesn't have as much sub bass presence and or much texture and just that overall just presence that the Alba has. The mids of the Alba are slightly more full, but they are a little bit more forward than they are on the Kato. They do take a little bit more of the focus, whereas on the Kato, they are a little bit more on the neutral leaning side of it and can be sound a little bit further back. Not recessed, not V-shaped, just a little bit more balanced and cohesive throughout, whereas the Alba will sound a little bit more forward. And then the treble is more extended on the Alba. The Kato does not have quite as much shimmer and quite as much glare and just edge and crispness and just energy up top. But the Alba and the Kato are very similar in that neither one of them are fatiguing in the uppers. Soundstage wise, the Alba is a little bit wider and also has a little bit better depth, and imaging is fairly similar in its abilities to place things. Detail retrieval is detail retrieval is pretty much even between the two. Resolution is slightly better on the Kato. And then tone and timbre, the Kato is good with tone and timbre, but the Alba is slightly better because it has better note weight and a little bit more fullness. And then let's step it up and go more expensive than the Kato. Let's talk about the Advar and how it compares to the Alba. The Advar is heavier, doesn't fit me quite as well. And the Advar, when it comes to sound signatures, is brighter, has a tendency for sibilance, a tendency for brightness and hotness. It definitely has more energy in the upper regions and is a bit peaky at times, has a more forthright presentation. The bass is, it has a more presence, like impact and slam, but it doesn't have as good of a hard-hitting heaviness like the Alba. To me, the Alba actually has the more accurate bass sound than the Advar. And in the mids are more recessed, not quite as forward and full sounding as they are on the Alba. And then, as I mentioned, the uppers are more aggressive and just more forthright. Soundstage of the Advar is wider, but also sounds a little bit artificial, does not sound quite as natural and accurate in its presentation, but has more of this open sound signature. The Advar is better detailed and a little bit better resolving. tone and timbre wise, I believe the Alba has a better tone and timbre because of its more fullness and accurate note weight. Meze Audio Alba. Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. And in fact, I would take it over the Advar. I find it to be more pleasurable to listen to and more accurate and natural sounding than the Advar. When it comes to the Kato, it's a toss-up. Am I looking for something a little bit more analytical leaning? I'll go with the Kato. If I'm looking for something that's a little bit more all-rounder and have a little bit more of a fun factor, I'm going with the Alba. But the Alba also can do that analytical stuff. $160. This thing's phenomenal. Wow. Meze, this is how you do it with a single dynamic. 10.8 millimeter. This is impressive. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on the screen, subscription links, notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. Don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video. Check out all the links down below. There's all kinds of information down there regarding how you can contact channel, follow channel, support channel. All that kind of stuff is listed down below. Speaking of supporting the channel, I want to thank my supporters through Patreon and YouTube memberships. Thank you very much for all that you provide to the channel. It is much appreciated. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there are various ways that you can do that. One-time gifts through PayPal, Venmo, YouTube, and then monthly subscriptions with YouTube and Patreon. With the monthly subscriptions, you can get access to my private Discord server. All you have to do is ask. And then also you can get access to the videos early or other benefits. So check out the links down below if you're interested in supporting the channel. It'd be much appreciated. Also down below, there's all kinds of other information regarding how you can contact channel, follow channel, support the channel, and gear recommendations, music recommendations, and gear rankings, and all kinds of stuff. So check out the links down below. And lastly, don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy.